Hi, this is Mary Keurig with Frontrunners Innovate magazine, and we are interviewing a couple of consultants that have so much energy, passion, and influence and leadership in technology spaces and innovation, and working with organizations and companies to kind of pull them up and move them forward. And I'm just so tickled. One of my very good friends and league members, Dr. Wilma Watts, sort of connected me to Dr. Randal Pinkett. And so we also have Lawrence Hibbert, the president of BCT Partners. And then we have Dr. Randal Pinkett, who is the CEO and president, or excuse me, CEO and director thereof. So we want to get the two of them to talk to us a little bit about their background, what they're doing at BCT, and then also share where they're headed with what they're doing. So and maybe along the way, throw little tips out there for some of our founders that are, working wonders in technology and solving the world's problems. So I'm going to throw it over to Dr. Pinkett first and ask you, please, just to share a little bit about your background, because you were sharing a little bit with me before we got on. And I think it's fascinating. I love the way that people come together. So it's a great story. So if you'll share a little bit.
Well, thank you, Mary, for the invitation to be a part of the conversation, and pleasure to meet you and connect with you. So we're celebrating 20 years in business at BCT here in 2020. And it's a number of things that we are celebrating. There are 4 founding partners for the company, Lawrence and I being the 2 managing partners. My roommate from college, Jeffrey Robinson, is a founder, and Lawrence's roommate from college, Dallas Grundy, is a roommate. And just to also be clear, all 4 of us were in school together. Jeffrey and I were a year ahead of Lawrence and Dallas, and we met through an organization called the National Society of Black Engineers. We were all studying engineering. We formed this bond with one another. We caught the entrepreneurial bug at a very young age, and had this idea that we could start a company while we were still in school. And that's exactly what we did. We launched our first venture selling an older relic called compact discs out of
Oh my gosh. That's priceless. That's priceless.
And what's interesting, Mary, is I'm sure there were adults in our lives who said, look at what Rand and Lar and JR and Dallas are doing. That's really cute. They're selling CDs. But 27 years later, we run a multi-million-dollar consulting firm. And so the seeds that we planted as students when we were in our late teens, early 20s, have come to fruition 27 years later, and we're still in business. We're still friends. We still like each other. We still have respect for each other, and it's been an incredible journey. I'll let Lawrence say more about the journey that we've been on for the past 27 years.
Mary, again, thank you for having us. We're excited to be speaking with you today. It has been quite a journey with my friend and brother Randal, and Jeffrey and Dallas as well. As Randal alluded to, we've been together for the last 27 years. What is interesting to us is that, some friendships stagnate, but our friendship has been able to evolve. And I think our ability to evolve as individuals, as leaders, and also as business owners has allowed us to grow together. And that's been a wonderful experience for us over the years. As Randal suggested, we started our first company, kind of Mind, Body, and Soul Enterprises, or MBS Educational Services and Training, in 1993. That business evolved into kind of a full-on training company through the 1990s. We did that after finishing college. And starting our kind of professional careers, still stayed together. By 1999, we all decided that we had enough wherewithal to have 2 people do this work full time. So both Dallas and myself ended up being kind of the guinea pigs, and we jumped out and decided to leave our corporate jobs to begin pursuing this training company full time in 2000. We did that till 2001, until we came to a point where 9/11 hit, and it was a moment of pivot where we said, hey, we've been doing a training company, and we've been doing kind of human kind of training and development of young people and mentors and professionals. Why don't we try to lean back on our technical background? And that really spawned the idea of BCT Partners, building community with technology partners, as it was described in its early ages.
I was asking Dr. Pinkett before we got on, what did BCT stand for? And he said, well, back when it had a meaning, and now it's sort of just the name of the company that's carrying you guys forward. So if you had to both of either, I'll start with you, Lawrence, if you'll go ahead and just tell me, but if you had to give like a one-liner about what the company stands for now, what the mission is, what would it be?
Yeah, our mission at BCT is to bring insights about diverse people that lead to equity. So the three important elements there is that we bring insights. We use our domain knowledge along with our understanding of how data can help to inform decisions. We also understand the diversity of what people bring to wherever they work, live, and play. So we recognize that we bring our whole self, our racial identity, our history, our socioeconomics, and we want to recognize that in programs, in systems, and make sure that ultimately that those systems support equitable kind of delivery of services to everyone that's involved. And so we are trying to move beyond just the equity piece, but that everybody gets the same thing, but people get what they need. So for us, it's insights about diverse people that lead to equity.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Pinkett, would you like to share your, add in your 10 cents on that so we can get your viewpoint too?
Yeah, I mean, to connect the earlier conversation with this conversation, in many ways, we've come full circle through the journey of our entrepreneurial careers. I mean, again, we started as engineers and technologists, but didn't start our careers doing engineering and technology. We were doing training, we were doing consulting. We eventually landed on information technology along with organizational development. But this mission around insights around diverse people that lead to equity, it combines the kind of organizational development of our origins entrepreneurially when we were doing training, learning, and development with our engineering technology training that we first gleaned as classmates at Rutgers with what is now cutting edge data analytics, predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics. We have our own kind of proprietary approach to these matters we call precision analytics. And so the marriage of all that, particularly juxtaposed against where society is, in the post-George Floyd era and in the midst of a pandemic and how our world has been turned upside down, we've never been better positioned, we believe, as a value-added thought and execution partner to what the marketplace is seeking as they're wrestling with trying to find insights about diverse people that lead to equity. That's who we are. That's what we do.
Excellent. What I'd like to do is if you kind of paint me a picture of a scenario of maybe something you're working on, you can share or not share names of clients, but just can you give us sort of an example of how you work?
Yeah, I'll cite some of the work that we've done using precision analytics, and then Lawrence can certainly jump in. In an increasingly in a growing number of our engagements, our clients are trying to understand how to address certain issues, but they've got lots of data, and they're trying to make sense of a burning question. How do we predict abuse of elders? How do we ensure permanency for foster care placements? How do we understand the impact of our investments in substance abuse? How do we better understand the right mix of services for youth seeking mental health? Like, those are all active use cases at BCT right now. But the common thing that they share is that our client has data. They're trying to answer these questions, and getting back to what Lawrence said, I want to key off a certain word, is they want to understand what works and what doesn't work. And so our precision analytics analyzes that data to get very granular, using machine learning, using artificial intelligence, to look at all of what has been attempted and what has not led to success, and then teasing out not only what works, but for whom, that we can disaggregate. Is it working for this particular population and not for other populations? And then offer two things: a prescription, that's prescriptive analytics, here's what you should do, and a prediction. And if you do this, we can now predict what kind of success you can anticipate as a result. But Lawrence can say more because he's actually even more closer to this than I am. Lawrence, what would you add?
I think you're right on. I think the one thing that I would add to this is that what differentiates us is that we're not just kind of an analytics firm. Because there's lots of folks that have analytic capability. You can throw around algorithms and apply them to data sets. But what makes us unique is that we understand the perspective to which the data is being used. We have a multidisciplinary team that has social workers, people that have masters in public administration, individuals that have been frontline workers, that understand what the data really says and what these stakeholders are going through. And so we partner with them to really translate what are their big questions, what does the data have to say about it, and how can we ensure that we can use the data in a way that's effective and efficient in achieving those. It's not just putting data into some black box and churning it and getting out some results, but we want to make sure that our algorithms, that our insight don't propagate more bias, more systemic, disenfranchisement that other systems can do. So we're very conscientious of that in the work that we're doing. And the second thing that I'll say just very quickly is not only are we able to understand the data and have perspective and have data scientists and researchers that can help to craft the question, and we can come out with a solution. The third piece of this is that we have the organizational experience to realize that no problem begins and ends with technology, that we ultimately have to take the insights and then apply it to people. And so Randal can speak much more to what we do in the application of that insight to how it changes organizational behaviors and changes the direction of what we do within an organization or corporation.
No, absolutely. And actually it goes back to the mission. I think of our mission as being two steps. The mission is insights about diverse people that lead to equity, but it's insights to action, action to equity. The insights to action is technology, analytics, research to give us data-driven decisions. What should we do? The data should drive what we do. Now that we know what to do, piggybacking off of Lawrence's comments, we now have to give people the ability to translate the insights to action and then the action to equity. And that's the part where the organizational development, the strategy, management consulting, all the tools that we develop going back to our days when we started doing training and learning and development all are being brought to bear. And so that whole translation of insights to action and action to equity is the totality of what we do at BCT.
That's where I was going with my next question is sort of a soup to nuts situation with you guys. So if they don't have the data, you can help them develop the questions, you can help them develop some of the data. The thing is, I think most companies do have some data to bounce off of, probably have no idea they have that kind of data because they don't know where it is. It might be, on 10 different computers or servers or whatever, or have the capacity to gather that data but don't know how to do it. Properly. And I think having the questions, the understanding of how to gather that data, your analytical processes, and then that's what I love about you guys. It doesn't stop with that part of it. It continues with, once the prescriptive data comes out, then being able to help a company understand what to do with that now. What do you do with that? How does it apply to that question? What are the answers? And then now, how do you use that data in a way that's going to get you the results that you want to get and get the impact rolling? And so you're all the way through to impact, basically. So can you, how do you define impact for yourselves and for your clients? I mean, where do you go, wow, that was a success? Where do you go with that?
Yeah. No, I mean, it really is inequity, and meaning the answer to the question is equity. And let's differentiate between equality and equity. Equality is giving everyone the same thing. Equity is giving everyone what they need. And if you average out data, everyone looks the same and gets the same because you're dealing with an average. And there's a great book, I believe, called The End of Averages that our chief data scientist, Peter York, has often recommended to others. But you have to disaggregate data to see, well, who is being served well and who isn't, so that you can be very targeted. And that's the equity conversation. What we're talking about is what works, what doesn't work, and for whom, Therefore, we can give people what works for them. And you think about precision medicine. Precision medicine says I can design a drug or a therapy that's tailored to your unique DNA, your unique biology, your unique needs. No longer do you get one pill, you get a tailored pill for you. And so our precision analytics plays off precision medicine and saying, we can analyze your data to figure out what is it that that individual needs that was going to work specifically for them, that is uniquely tailored to them, versus a generalized approach that is a broad brush that gives them equality but does not give them equity.
Fascinating. You know, you guys have come together. You've been together for quite some time and have your business, you know, sense and your business missions. Put, you know, everything's kind of nice, neat in a box now. And you've got the business rolling, and but nobody like you guys anyway stands still. So I know this is to me, it feels like a very innovative approach to data. And I've talked to a lot of people who do data, you know, work. But I think moving forward, what would you say in the next 3 to 5 years? I mean, if once we hopefully come out of the pandemic soon and move into what the new normal is, whatever that is going to be, where do you see you guys with what you're doing? I mean, what do you see as maybe the next add-on or regeneration thereof of what the company looks like?
Yeah, and I want to cue Lawrence because we're actually doing some work around the pandemic that he may want to talk about. Talk about where we go from here. Lawrence?
Yeah.
Yep. Lawrence, you got it.
Yeah, I'd answer that two different ways. I think one, I think insights is really going to be the important element here, and being able to use analytics as a service that's applied to various data sets. So we are constantly gathering information, and we know that through all of our wearable technologies, administrative data, you know, we are constant. So that's not going to stop. The question is, will businesses be able to do something with the information? Will they be able to gain insights about that data? So it's our belief that as we build systems that are able to kind of to mine, to discover, to bring insight to that data, that there'll be lots of applications, because ultimately businesses are data driven. And so I think that there's a huge, huge opportunity for that. An example of that is with the New Jersey, the pandemic work that's happening in New Jersey. And so we know that there are real challenges within our communities to recovery. Partly go to where are our needs, where are our gaps, and what are the appropriate prescriptive solutions that can help to address that. We believe that precision analytics gives us that kind of insight so that we can direct where funding should go, where technical assistance can go, where capacity building can go, to particular neighborhoods, to particular census tracts, so that they are getting exactly what they need to support recovery. One of the areas that we're working on particularly is in childcare. Childcare is a huge issue. And until we stabilize childcare, we can't get this economy back running again. And so we need to understand what the childcare needs are in particular areas. We're using precision analytics and the work that we're doing in our Equip platform to help bring insights to those kinds of decisions.
Fantastic. There's a lot of areas where what you're doing during this pandemic could maybe bring in some solutions.
Yes.
And so that's definitely a big one. I know that. Even communications and, you know, supply chain management. I mean, there's just so many areas of what you're doing that could bring solutions to things. So last question for both of you. If you were talking to, say, I hate to call them startups because it sounds like they just like overnight decided they were going to put up, you know, a business, but I call them founders. And so we work a lot with innovators who are innovating technological solutions, whether that be in healthcare or education or some area that means something to our quality of life. What would you say to somebody about data who is really wrapped up around the innovation that they're doing? And I can give you a couple examples. We've got people who are doing wearables for health. We've got another, you know, member, and I'm speaking about members of my league, which are all, you know, innovators, problem solvers that have been in business for a long time, very credible and very talented individuals. But we have another gentleman with a 3D printer of functional electronics that is just getting ready to go to clinical trials with a 3D printed ventilator, which, oh my gosh, if we had had that,
Right.
in March, we could, under $1,000 or right thereabouts, and takes maybe an hour to put together. And, what would you say to people like that, professors who are inventing these amazing mobile power units to go to other areas of the world? What would you, Lawrence, we got the camera on you right now, so let's start with you. So what would you say to them about data and how to prepare their company?
Yeah, great question. Two things that come to mind for me is, one is that we've got a lot of great innovative kind of minds. I think you always, when you're starting up, need to make sure that you're marrying your innovation with strong business models.
Mm-hmm.
And so my first thing would be to make sure that you have members on your team that can help you think about how you scale your business based upon information and data. We know that data is kind of the new oil, but we know that the insights is really the sweet spot. So you want to make sure that you're marrying both your innovation and the kinds of data that you need to collect to help you make good decisions, and have those working together to really bring insight. And I think the last thing that I would say as well is that it's important that all of these innovators understand the ecosystem to which they work in and understand how data informs that. I mean, all of us are trying to build ecosystems, build platforms, build this interoperability. So you want to think not about your solution in a silo, but rather in partnership or in service to a greater ecosystem, and understand how the data helps to reinforce that and give more credibility and value to the work that you're doing.
Yeah, no, good response. And what I would add is, I think something Lawrence and I have learned and how we've grown and evolved as entrepreneurs is that we have arrived at a place where, looking back, we've developed an ability to have conversations about topics at a level of depth to which we can interrogate that area. Meaning we can talk to accountants and to finance people about accounting and finance.
Right.
We can talk to marketing and sales people about marketing and sales. We can have a deep conversation about operations and program management and project management. Now, are we experts in those areas? Absolutely not. But we've learned to be competent in our ability to lead the company to know enough about all those areas that we can go deep when we have to go deep. The same is true for data. Meaning, if you asked us 5 years ago, how deep could each of us go on data? The answer was not very deep. Technology, we could go deep, but not necessarily data. And so we have both learned, self-learning, continuous learning, conversation, exploration, take your pick, to become conversant in predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics, descriptive analytics, evaluative analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, natural language processing, the list goes on. And I say to other entrepreneurs, you don't have to be the expert in all those areas, because you can't be. Obviously, you got to pick and choose one of them where you're really, really good, but you have to be reasonably good at lots of things if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur. And so, to your question, Mary, on the issue of data, I say to those entrepreneurs, if you aren't conversant in what data can do for your business, how it can drive growth, drive insights, drive profitability, and drive new capability, get on board. Get on board.
So, well, I've got you right there from the standpoint of going through a series of funding rounds that so many of them are doing. How key is data to investment? I just wanted to ask that real quick before we left.
Yeah, I'll just respond. I think it's critically important because ultimately people want to see where's the money going and what kind of impact. And so I can use data in place or as a support to return on investment. And all folks that are into investment and finance want to know what the return on investment is, and certainly what the outlook looks like, and how data helps to do that.
I think that also makes you look, if you pay attention to that early on, it makes you look really, organized and understanding where you're going with things, very, focused on what your end result's going to be. And I think that you know, if you, like I say, if you focus on that early on and you see anybody who's going to invest in you sees that, knows that you're dedicated to getting that to impact. I mean,
Yes.
from the get-go.
Mhm.
And, you know, I see an awful lot of pitch decks and one-pagers and what have you that I think are lacking in some of that language and that proof, if you will.
Mhm.
Agreed.
That, you know, that's where they're headed with this. We know where our end result is and we know how to get there. So very good. Well, this is awesome, guys. You guys are global, work globally or primarily the US?
Primarily the U.S., but we're looking and expanding internationally. We have
Okay. I can see what
clients.
you're doing being valuable to NGOs around the world.
Absolutely.
I really can. You
Absolutely.
know, but especially when you mentioned there was something you mentioned, I think, Dr. Pinkett, that was about validating where the impact, you know,
Yeah.
validating impact is going. And so many of the NGOs are not there. They're just not there yet with that. And it's really hard to do that when, say, a Gates Foundation gives you X millions of dollars and it funnels through another organization to you know, to get the contracts executed. And then you've got the boots on the ground in these foreign countries that are, you know, in communities that are in such need. Really hard to follow that paper trail or that money trail and knowing that the impact is there and then getting those figures back that Gates is happy with. So, you know, I can so see, you know, those types of things working really well for that. So anyway, thank you. We can talk more about that later.
Absolutely.
I like that idea.
We'd love to.
Awesome. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time. And I look forward to sharing your story and your information with people. I think it's really valuable information to have and, you know, really a different aspect of company development and growth that a lot of people just haven't put the spotlight on quite well enough. So thank you very much for that.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Mary.
very much.
Appreciate it.